This is All India Radio. In the program Spotlight, now we bring you a discussion on attaining self-reliance in defence production and procurement. The participants are defence expert and retired Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni and Neelab Srivastav, journalist.
This morning, Defence Minister Mr. Rajnath Singh announced on Twitter that he is going to make a very important announcement at 10 a.m., subsequently which later happened. And Mr. Rajnath Singh then told the country about the Ministry of Defence or the country itself now being ready for a big push under the Atmanirbhar Bharat or the Self-Reliant India initiative vis-a-vis procurements made for defence forces, primarily for the Indian Army, Navy and the Air Force. And the MOD now going to introduce an import embargo on 101 items beyond a given timeline. Different items will have a different timeline, and this is primarily aimed to boost the indigenization or the indigenous manufacturing. And if I just go in the background, this is in context of the Prime Minister very recently talking about the entire decision of going Atmanirbhar, of taking lot of initiatives, how the country can be self-reliant. And also, when we talk about being self-reliant, the Prime Minister did mention about three important pillars on which this entire edifice would be. That is on the economy front, infrastructure, system, democracy and demand. General Kulkarni, how important is this decision?
Let me tell you, the Raksha Mantri has been absolutely forthright in announcing a big push for Atmanirbhar. No doubt about that. And what is more important, if you look at it, earlier, between 2015 and 2020, there were 260 such items which were listed out. And when we imported, it cost us 3.5 lakh crores. That is the kind of import, of which now you find that they have announced 110 items have been listed, which, if embargo, as what you rightly said, would be graduated by about 2024, the complete embargo would be there. We would be saving about 4 lakh crores just by putting an embargo on these 101 items. And these 101 items are not small items. If you look at the way the list has been, it has artillery guns, it has small arms, it has assault rifles, it has LMGs, it has the armored fighting vehicles, it has the light combat helicopters, the light combat aircrafts, it has transport aircrafts, it has conventional submarines, radars, communication equipment, the bulletproof jackets, the ballistic helmets, ammunition of all kinds, and simulators of all kinds. It's a huge, long list which will give a tremendous boost, just not to the indigenization. It will give a big boost even to our own PSUs and the ordnance factory boards, which have also been slated for corporatization. That does not mean privatization, corporatization. You find Indian defense industry since 2001, when actually the licenses started being given to them, it now is the time that you will get a real big boost, real big push. And this will lead to what is known as self-reliance in defense. And what better thing, at least on the defense front, we must be self-reliant. I think it's a wonderful scheme and a wonderful vision. And therefore, it tells everybody in advance that these are the items. So it is preparing you for it. At the same time, ensuring that the technology is imported. You have all the goods. And the government has also said in this that they would be doing hand-holding of the defense industries for some time. And that is very, very important. Because if that is not done, then you find the investments done by the private sector is so huge, and if they're not too sure of the long-range orders coming to them, then they would run into a loss. But if the hand-holding is what promised by the government will be done, well, of course, without diluting the GSQR, I think it's a fantastic come. I think the whole thing is a huge game changer. I hope this challenge is accepted. All the players, I'll say the PSUs, the corporatized, subsequently the ordnance factories and the private industry is a challenge. They must accept it and they must now deliver the bang for the buck.
General Kulkarni, you did mention about the weapons and the equipment, different platforms that probably will be under this list. If I just go mentioning about the list that was 101 items, but when it comes to knowing the requirements of the tri-forces, the Indian Army, the Navy or the Air Force, and to know as to what these forces want and what terrains do they want to operate, how important would it be the interaction between the domestic industry and the defense forces, and also the research and development that would go hand in hand in developing these weapon platforms over the next few years now?
The DRDO itself opened up. They have said their laboratories are available. The defense forces have said their ranges are available for them to test their weapons. So you find the hand-holding is very, very important. Their participation wholeheartedly, our sharing our GSQRs with them wholeheartedly, they're being able to be taken on board because each of these trial service would have a different requirement. Each one of them have a different operational needs. Each of them would have their own GSQRs and the PSQRs laid down. So there is a definite an interaction in the sense they have to gel and what they call as cog and the wheel, entire thing, all of us, the user, the manufacturer, the research and development, and also the DGQA. All of them have to gel and all have to be on the same page and have to be on the same table and must work with deadlines. I think it's a great success, and that is what you rightly said. That is the crux of the whole thing. You cannot isolate the private industry. They are part of us. It's indigenization, whether it is corporate ordnance factories, or it is the Indian private industry, or it is the PSUs, or it is the DRDO. I think everybody have to be on the same, sharing the technologies and giving the best to the armed forces, that there will be no need for import. In fact, it should lead to export.
General Kulkarni, we know that defense procurement, India is, I think, the third largest importer of military equipment, at least in the last 1 decade, across the globe. And we know the timelines and the time lag, delays at times that happen, then the charges of defense deal corruption. So how important is this when it comes to the interaction between the domestic suppliers and manufacturers, that the timelines are met, that the equipment that or the weapons that the defense forces have sought come in good time and at a time when the technology is required is given to the forces?
This is very important. Why do we resort to import? Import is primarily resorted because you know the item and equipment will be good, it will be delivered on time, and it will assure whatever you've asked for, they've given it to you. All along, so far, what was actually happening was the delivery schedules were not being adhered to. The cost factors were running very high, resulting in what happened was that the user started losing faith in it. But now, with indigenization, 100% indigenization, it is no favoritism to anybody, be it PSU or be it an ordnance factory. There is no what to be served as their first right. No, nothing absolutely. Everybody, as long as it is make in India, is making it India, it is made by the Indians in India, where is the problem? Everybody is at par. And therefore, I think when there's competition, you will find a good research and development, good absorption of technology, the costs will come down. You will find the delivery will be scheduled. The user interaction of the private industry will be very, very friendly and more forthright, and they know exactly. The trials will be done with both. Why? And I think this will work hand in glove with all of them. Now, I'm not saying that only the private industry. I'm saying the private industry along with the PSUs and the ordnance factories in the new avatar, when they become corporatized, all of them will be a game changer. And accountability of the private participation will be much more because it is their money. And their money is involved. When accountability is there, you will get your stuff.
General Kulkarni, when we talk about the scenario that the defense and the security scenario of the country facing today and in the future, maybe it's a limited war scenario, a two-front war as multiple generals have talked about, or a proxy war that we see in the Kashmir Valley, infiltration, our long borders of the country. How important or how will it give it a fillip when it comes to getting domestic industries manufactured gadgets good in time? We talked about the timeline, and also ensuring that the quality and the kind of maneuverability that we require is achieved.
See, what happens is the industry within India. Firstly, accessibility. The user can walk up to them, they can walk up to the user. You'll find from the times when you refer to Siachen, way back from 1984 and a little earlier to that, and till now, a world of a change. The way we ourselves have progressed, the way we have also absorbed technology. You find the DRDO has gone leaps and bounds. They've gone far, far ahead. The ordnance factories have been able to manufacture. But what happens over a period of time, a certain amount of complacency sets in. You take it for granted. That moment you introduce this factor of competition, you introduce that culture of delivery on schedule, you find that if you do not deliver, there'll be cost to pay for it. Your salary is linked to the production. All of this helps. At your own research and development, internal, you find that the way metallurgy is changing, you find critical technologies the world over, how we absorb those critical technologies. The fact that we can land on Mars, the fact that we can send spacecraft, the fact that we're so fantastically highly advanced in terms of space research organizations. How is it that particular field we are not? We have. And what better thing than what has been announced today? I think this should give a big boost to indigenization in self-reliance in defense industry, leading to what the Prime Minister said, Atmanirbhar, and nothing better than Atmanirbhar in defense.
General Kulkarni, there is no denying the fact that India will have to keep getting some imports of advanced platforms. We know that India has been one of the major importers of defense equipment. But when it comes to the seamlessness and the interoperability between the various gadgets and the various equipments that are taken by the three defense forces, how do you see the entire seamlessness and working on one platform goes about?
You have all kinds of items. What you've just said is the inventory management. If we import too many items, then the inventory management becomes very difficult. But if it is indigenized, the inventory management is still easier because it is available in India. You give a phone call and the thing will land up at you. But whereas you're dependent on something, then it does become difficult. But I would look at it, the interoperability of items. If it is indigenous, not a problem. Yes, indigenized and imported, there may be a little bit of problem.
General Kulkarni, comes to the domestic industry, how important it is to ensure that the wear and tear of the equipments, the maintenance of the equipments, the spares, these are all taken care of, because as important for procuring a gadget, it is also important that you ensure its life, you ensure that it is repaired in a good time whenever it comes to the repair or the base depot.
The maintenance and repair of an item sometimes is far more expensive than the weapon and the equipment itself. Because anything that you import or anything that you make one in the defense lasts many years, maybe 30, 40 years. So a thing which may have just cost you, say, 5 crores at the point of it when introduced, and by the time it has almost ended its life, it will have cost you about 40 crores on the maintenance of the 5 crore of equipment. Because it is maintenance, repair of an equipment is very, very expensive. And that is where the indigenization will be a big grand help. The equipment is so sensitive, therefore, you are totally dependent on those spares coming in from there. But indigenization, what you rightly said, is going to play a very, very big role in ensuring that the maintenance and repair of the equipment will be much, much cheaper than what it was of an imported equipment.
The Raksha Mantri also said that this particular list of 101 equipments as of today has been drawn out of several rounds of consultations with all stakeholders, the three defense forces, no doubt. General Kulkarni, tell us, our listeners, as to what exactly happens when it goes to consultation. How does the army or maybe an air force go to a technology developer and say that we need this equipment and this is what my conditions?
We float the request for information, that we tell all of them that, look, this is what we want and this is the GSQR that we have. We want a item to be able to operate under such and such conditions. It must have the following characteristics, and that should have the following weight. It should have the following. So whatever is required, the PSQR, or you call it the GSQR, and in the RFI listed, and based on that, people start approaching you. We can give you this is the cost. The numbers required are so many, and the cost generally hovering around whatever that is. A particular equipment that we asked for, most of them have said that yes, they meet this characteristic, they meet this characteristic. So you've shortlisted. Just to say that out of 100 firms, about 10 or 15 firms have been shortlisted, which meet most of it, what you've said. It's all open and transparent. The person is free to ask as many questions as he wants to clarify his mind. Once he's clarified his mind, once he's given, then the equipment is given to us for trials. And then those trials are conducted, and the manufacturer knows that the trials will be conducted in high altitude, will be conducted in this area, that area, whatever. Details are already fed to him. There's nothing which is hidden from him. He knows all of it. And then the trials are conducted. Once the trials are conducted further, then out of those trials, then the shortlisting happens. 15 firms that participated in this thing, about 4 or 5 of them got shortlisted, and 4 or 5 firms have finally made it for the cut to be able that their equipment, all of them meet the GSQR. Now question is the cost. Now comes the cost as to who is able to deliver, in what time frame and in what cost, and how would he be able to serve, and what all that you have. And then they finally take a call on which is that which delivering, because after all it was all tendered, it is sealed, and whoever comes the lowest, well, he's given the order, and then he's told that, well, do supply within this specific time, whatever it is, and then the process starts.
Defense Ministry did mention about 101 items that have been put in the negative list, which will now not be imported. The ministry also in the statement did mention that there will be more such items which will be progressively put in the embargo list, and we may go for more indigenization. Thank you, General Kulkarni.
Thank you. Jai Hind.
You were listening to a discussion on attaining self-reliance in defense production and procurement. The participants were defense expert and retired Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni and Neelab Srivastav, journalist. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of All India Radio. You can listen to it on our mobile app, News on AIR. This program is also available on our website, newsonair.com. You may email your opinion about this program at airnsdtalks@gmail.com.